Cal, you look like you're in
Yes,
Adelaide. How are you? What's going on?
I am. I'm in Adelaide, and I've been isolating actually, Mel. So I've been stuck at home for the last, I think, 7 days. So nearly at the end of the road. It's the 10 days here in Adelaide. So been confined to the boundaries of the household, but feeling fine, ready to get stuck into it and talk cricket because there's been plenty happening.
I just think that shows. We've seen in Sydney, we saw the bravery of Ben Stokes batting through that side injury, of Johnny Bairstow batting through and that thumb injury, and Joss Butler as well with the hand. But here we have the toughness of Callum Ferguson
Oh,
battling
hardly.
through COVID, but still
Let's
here
not
to put some
exaggerate.
time down.
Let's not exaggerate. Where are you? Are
Yeah,
you in
great.
Hobart now?
I'm in Hobart. I've just been looking out the window at the Australian team getting a talk about something. So I'm in beautiful Hobart.
Beautiful.
Touch wood. I've managed to escape the dreaded COVID so far. One test to
Well done.
go. But thank you. I'm battling through. But in the meantime, there's lots to talk about. So let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Timed Out for Sporting News Australia. Here battling on through all the difficulties that have happened through this Ashes series. And special thanks to Cullum for battling through COVID. Hello to Samath Joshi, who says, take care, Cullum. Yes, we all say take care, Cullum.
Thank
Look
you.
after yourself. And if you're watching at
will.
home and if you've got a question or a comment that you'd like to ask, please just pop it into the chat box and we will try to incorporate it if we possibly can throughout the show. We're here. We're at the fifth test. Gosh, I never thought we were going to get here to Hobart with all the times that this series has been so precarious, and Perth falling through, then coming here to Hobart, all the various COVID things that have gone around. But here we are. We've made it to the final test. It's technically a dead rubber, of course, but still those World Test Championship points on the line. So there is still actually, as they say, plenty to play for.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's get into some of the topics. I'm really interested in your thoughts on a few things, Cal. Where does Uzzie stand? So obviously twin hundreds at the SCG, but then you had the performance of Travis Head. We've had Marcus Harris, of course, who has played one really important innings in Melbourne, but hasn't overall perhaps really nailed that opening spot. I've seen one suggestion that from Ed Cowan, I think that Marnus Labuschagne should open, Uzzie bat at 4 and Head at 5. All these theories. Where do you stand on this, Callum? What do you think they should do with Uzzie?
Yeah, look, I saw Ed's suggestion today, I think it was this morning, and I'm not quite on board, but what I am on board with is his statement around making sure that you get your best players playing. So in this scenario, I'd be trying to disturb as few people as possible with the change. Travis Head's spot at 5, that's been his spot. He's nailed it in the early stages of the Ashes when it was there to be won. He provided the match-winning innings at the Gabba. He provided valuable momentum shifts earlier in the series as well in the second and third test. So he's a man that's nailed his spot. It was there to be made his, and he made it his. So that's great. The other spot in the order we talked about was the one at the top. Who was going to open with David Warner. And the selectors went really early. George Bailey announced early that it was going to be Marcus Harris and he was going to get an extended run. And he's had that. He's had 4 tests and he's been serviceable. The only concern is, again, with Marcus is that he hasn't been able to go on and make 100 and really make a statement. It was a really valuable contribution at the MCG. There's no doubt about it. It was an innings that really affected the result, which was great to see from him. But still hasn't really nailed that spot down. And the issue he's got is that A man we've talked a fair bit about on this very program, Usman Khawaja, and he got an opportunity and he did a little bit more than just affect the result of a game. He was the best player in the game by the length of Brabham Straight, and I find it so hard to believe that they won't move him up to open the batting in this next Test match. He's got a great record opening the batting. He's spent the majority of his career at Test level and at domestic level batting at 3. Well, we all know that batting at 3 can effectively have you opening a lot of the time anyway at the fall of an early wicket. So you're used to playing against the new ball. He's actually opened in Test cricket as well and averages 96.8 from 7 hits opening the batting. So we know he can do it. It's a no-brainer for mine. He comes in to open the batting. Unfortunately, Marcus Harris has to go, and it is a little bit unlucky because it's very rare you have someone with Usman's unique skill set come in, make 200s back-to-back in the same Test match and steal your spot. But unfortunately, I believe you pick your best side to win the next Test match, and Usman Khawaja is in the best 5 batsmen in the country in my eyes, and he can open the batting, so that makes it a little bit easier to just move him up to the top, and you've got your best 5 out there along with obviously Green, who's the all-rounder. That's how it sits for me. Mel?
Well, it's very hard to argue. We'll just let the ducks come in. There we go. Not many of those for me.
I'm going to overrule the duck and ask you who you think's who's going to miss and who's going to play.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to say. So, I mean, Usman's his comments afterwards, I think he's been dropped 7 times from the Australian squad. So he has spoke quite a number of times now about really understanding where the selectors are coming from in giving someone an extended run and whether that be a whole series or whatever it is. So I think he's quite philosophical about it in a way. I guess one thing that's interesting to me is the amount of Test tours that are coming up in the subcontinent as well, including Pakistan very soon with, we can say inshallah. I hope, God willing, that it does happen. And know that they really intended to. So, I mean, for me, there's still a few question marks when you look at that Australian team as who is in the first 11 when they walk out at Karachi. I would have Usman Khawaja in that opening 11 in Karachi. Whether or not they might say it's a dead rubber, Marcus Harris, we're going to give you another opportunity here in this Test as well. But Uzzie, we want to take you to Pakistan and you're going to be in that starting 11. Having said that, I actually agree with you. I just think it does seem like a no-brainer. That's the only reason that they don't. There's a real different philosophy in the selection here. And we talked to Tony Dottermaid, one of the selectors yesterday, just about really trying to have that. And funny, being down in Hobart makes me think of second last time I was down here for a Test, which you will remember probably for not fond reasons against Africa, because that was a time when everyone came into the side. South Africa won that match. Kyle Abbott had a day out, and then everyone was dropped, it seemed like. And we don't want to go back to those days either. So, there's some interesting things around that, I think. But how do you leave out a guy who's just made twin centuries? I don't
think you can. Yeah, I don't think you can.
So the only thing I think is if they go, right, we're going to. Otherwise, I just don't see why he wouldn't open with him. And I can see some comments there. One from Timothy White saying, yes, he should. Excuse me, it's all right. We've got a phone call here behind me. Timothy White says, yes, he should, since he averages about 250 with the bat so far this year.
That's right, yeah.
Rhonda Davis says, yes, he should. I can see Hazel Miller says he should be in, put water out. Well, there you go. I don't know if they'll do that. Bill Waterson says Usman stays. So, look, the people have spoken. Uzzie stays.
They have.
We're all
Usman's
speaking.
in.
Usman's in. Sorry, Marcus. Next maybe further down in the line. Let's bring up our next topic for the day, and that is Hobart's pink ball mysteries. So first Ashes test here, first day-night test here. There's hardly any pink ball cricket. There's only a few sort of odd shield matches that have been played down here. And I think Mitch Stark said this morning that probably Scott Boland might be the only one who's actually played a pink ball match down here. And with that injury he's picked up, quite likely he's not playing. So we could have a situation where no players who play in this fifth test match will have ever bowled with a pink ball down here, which is kind of amazing, really. And who knows what it's going to do? Have you seen anything or heard anything down here, Cal?
No, very little, Mel, and because they've not played a lot of pink ball games down there. Look, I dare say it'll be relatively similar to the Adelaide Oval pink ball test with regards to a fair bit of grass on the pitch, trying to protect the pink paint and lacquer on the ball so that it doesn't peel away and become like a tennis ball, really soft. So that's my prediction. The wicket will have a fair bit of grass on it. When the wicket at Bell Reeve has a fair bit of grass on it, it tends to do a lot. And my understanding, and we've talked a bit about this previously in this Australian summer, the balls that Kookaburra are producing at the moment have a little bit of plastic underneath the seam now, like a ring of plastic to just enable the seam to stay harder for longer, which does help the ball move around off the pitch. So I do feel like it's going to be pretty bowler friendly down there. Having played a fair bit of shield cricket down there in the last 7 or 8 years, it has been very bowler friendly at times, if not the majority of the time. So I do feel like there'll be a bit in it for the bowlers, and Jackson Bird will be putting his hand up to make a comeback in Test cricket because he has a field day with the pink ball down there at Bell Reeve, or any ball on that wicket. But in all seriousness, I feel like it's going to be pretty friendly to the bowlers. I'll just be interested to see whether it swings quite as much in the cooler climate down there. With the red ball, we know around the world it tends to not swing quite as much when it gets really cold. So I'll be watching the weather forecast quite closely over the coming days.
Oh, well, on that, I can see Jamie McClenaghan has helpfully said rain predicted for Friday, Saturday and Sunday, mid-20s, may move around a bit with cloud cover. And that's the thing down here, for the difference in temperature between the afternoon, which is when, day one, they'll have the new ball in the afternoon. It is roasting. It's really hot. And then the temperature sort of around about now, so what is that, nearly 6 o'clock, it suddenly drops massively, which is, but we're still a couple of hours away from the lights. But by the time the lights come on and you sort of normally expect the ball to be swinging more, it is going to be like much, much colder, probably, maybe even about 14 degrees with the wind coming off the Derwent. So there's just so many unknowns with this. We've already got such a small sample size with pink ball cricket anyway, but then you throw in a new venue and new sort of weather conditions, and it just becomes almost feels like a lottery all over again. So, it is a mystery. And I guess that's where you look at selection as well for Australia. If there's no Scott Boland, who you think they might, go back to Jai Richardson or Michael Neser, who would your pick be?
Oh, look, I think after the 5 in the second innings in Adelaide, it's going to be hard to go past Jai Richardson. I think he's earned an opportunity. He was very unlucky to lose his spot to Scott Boland, but injuries happen. He might get another chance now.
There we go. I'm going to be out. I can see a few more comments coming in. Bill Waterston says, brilliant for Tasmania. Absolutely brilliant. It is. And I can tell you, and Bill Waterston also says, great commentator, Cullum. Vicky Gillespie says,
I hope I haven't sent him to sleep in his armchair at any stage.
No, it is. And I can tell you, it's brilliant to be down here again. I love coming down here for a test. It's just so lovely. You go down Salamanca Place and I've seen match
Yeah.
officials and players and other journalists, sort of everyone being COVID safe, eating outside,
That's
but
right. Exactly.
lovely atmosphere. It's brilliant. Okay, time for our next comment. I'm just distracted by Michael Nisa throwing a football around. I'm on Team Nisa. So next
Oh, yep.
topic. Next
You always
topic.
have been too.
I know.
Fair
With
enough
all
too.
due
What a
respect,
ripper. Great
what a
competitor.
ripper.
Love him as
Yeah.
a player.
No disrespect to Jai either. Okay, does England look to the future with selection? Now this is an interesting one. So they've obviously lost Joss Butler. Johnny Bairstow's battered out there today. I've been watching him in the nets. Didn't look completely comfortable. He's chipped a little bit of bone in the tip of his thumb, which just makes you look at that innings in Sydney with even more admiration, I guess. We've lost Cullum in the stream. He'll be back in a second, I have no doubt. So that's the situation. There, you're back. That's the situation with Johnny Bairstow. Ben Stokes had a bat today, but didn't bowl. So whether or not he ends up playing as a batter only, again, we are yet to see. But where do England go? Sam Billings did arrive, and he was there in the nets today. And with him, I think England looked like they were much happier. Well, he adds a lot of happiness. He's a really happy-go-lucky guy, and I noticed him laughing in the nets when he got down there. But I guess with Cullum, who'll hopefully be back soon, do England go with the tried and true, the experience of Burns, who was obviously dropped before? They've been sticking with Haseeb Hameed for the last couple of tests, but he has really struggled. Look, there's Ollie Pope in that mix as well, who is really considered one of the, if not the most promising young batter coming through the system in England. But he's had his problems as well. So I think Cal's still trying to get back in. So hopefully he will be soon. Hang on, let me just check. Yeah. Come on, Cal, where are you? He chose this topic as well. That's the thing. He wanted to talk about this. So I hope we can get him back on. But it's just a matter really of where they decide to go. I think would be really surprised if Billings didn't just come straight in for Joss Butler. I think Ollie Pope did a really good job in trying to, or coming in and filling in when Joss Butler couldn't keep at the SCG. But I think they want a specialist keeper. Joe Root did make it sound like they might just assess where Johnny Bairstow was as well. Oh, he's back. You're back.
I was sitting there. I was actually sitting there and watching you talk, and I was talking to you, and I was like, "Is she going to respond to me?" And then my face wasn't even up, so I'm not sure what happened there. But it was my topic, wasn't it? So I was keen to talk about this. So look, I think it's going to be really hard to go with Haseeb Hameed again. I think he needs a break. It looks like he's a bit tormented now. I just don't feel like it'd be right to go with him again, Mel. I'm not sure how you feel about that. But look, I think being relatively restricted to the squad they've got, I think they probably need to go back to Burns, give him another opportunity to come in and have a dip. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It has felt like there's something really, he's tougher than he looks, Haseeb Hameed. There is something that seems so young and vulnerable, or particularly young in that side. Even just sort of watching him at training, he defers a lot, and he's talking to someone who's saying that he is actually learning. He's learning a lot. He made a few adjustments in Sydney, but look, I mean, I think I see them both. I think England see them both as the future. In many ways, as future sort of and current prospects, if that makes sense. But interestingly, a few people calling for Zach Crawley, and perhaps even so Zach Crawley and Rory Burns. Burns have never opened together before in a Test match, even though they've batted together many times. So I suspect that's what England may go to. because it just looks, it does look a cruelty at the moment to keep doing it, even though he's learning. I guess what you just don't want to do is he gets dropped again, and then that's the second time. So he's going to have to then learn and come back. As we said, Usman Khawaja has been dropped like 7 times from the Australian
That's
team.
right.
It's not possible to come back.
Yeah.
So that's where I think they may well go with that. And as I was explaining when you were off there as well, Sam Billings is here. His presence is, he's been laughing in the nets with Jeetan Patel. He actually reverse swept Jeetan Patel a couple of times in the nets, which was pretty funny. He's just bouncing about and happy to be here. And I think that's kind of a really good thing for England as well, to just kind of have that fresh blood come in and not being part of all of this. So
yeah, I don't disagree with that. He's a very infectious character, Sam. I like him a lot. He brings a lot of energy to the place. He's got a smile on his face more often than not. But everything he does is high octane. So training, everything he does is high octane. Every time, whenever he's in the nets, there's always high octane stuff going on, whether it's white, red, or pink ball in front of him. And he's providing plenty of acrobatic stuff behind the stump. So, look, I think it'd be a great addition to the side. I think sometimes when you're copping a beating like England are at the moment, you need someone, a bit of a circuit breaker brought into the team to just break it up and break the ice. And this is the greatest time of your life, playing Test cricket, and start reminding a few people of that. And I think Sam's the man. So I hope that they do make that change. I think they probably need to go back to Ollie Robinson, give him another go. So I don't know whether they rest James Anderson from the last one, or I'm not sure he's going to put his hand up to do that. But I think they need to get Ollie back in there to have another opportunity, because he has shown a fair bit on this tour, and he'll have learnt a lot. So. But Mark Wood, they are a different side when Mark Wood's in the team, particularly in Australian conditions. He has to play, so I think it's probably Anderson that maybe just gets a break, and they give an opportunity to a younger bowler in Robinson.
Sorry, I was muted. Go the Ducks.
Yeah. Beautiful.
A couple of comments. Samath Joshi says Asib is a good prospect, but maybe needs some time, and also more suited to subcontinent conditions, or certainly not Australian conditions, I think, is the other thing. So he's got some things to learn there. Jamie McClenahan says, agree with the Burns comment. Crawley looked good in the second innings. Yeah, he really did look good. But you say that about Ollie Robinson. Something I noticed today, I'm not sure in the nets, I think he might have a little shoulder issue. I don't know if it's just not when he bowls, but when he was batting, his right shoulder, he looked quite uncomfortable to me. So we'll ask some questions and find out just exactly what the story is with that.
Watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space. Prajwal PJ, here's one for you, Cullum. Why are commentators so hard on players taking the off-stump guard? What are the advantages and disadvantages of it?
Yeah, I don't agree with a lot of the harsh commentary around it. I think if it works for you, then it works for you. Everyone's different. I think if we had everyone setting up on the same guard, everyone playing with the same technique, and everyone hitting to the same areas all the time, I think it'd be a pretty boring game and an easy one to set up a bowling attack against and game plan against. So I think it's fine. One of the advantages is that you're covering your off stump really well, and you know what to play out and what not to. One of the other sides of the coin, though, is that if you do miss the ball and it's straight and at your pads, then you're right in front of the stump. So, you're an LBW candidate, but you watch Marnus Labuschagne and Steve Smith, and they get right across their stumps. So whilst they mark centre or middle and leg, they take a big pre-ball movement across their stumps, and they end up on an off-stump guard anyway, but no one seems to talk about that. So it's one of those things that's crept into commentary that I don't agree with, because with all the different pre-ball movements, no one actually ends up where they start these days, or very few do. Some are relatively still at the crease, but geez, there's a lot of players, I would say the majority, that might start in one spot, but they end up on a different guard by the time the ball's released anyway. So I'm with you, mate. I think they're making a mountain out of a molehill. So I think it's absolutely fine to be standing over your off stump.
There you go. Excellent answer. Excellent question, Prajwal.
Was a good question.
Yeah, good one. Okay, let's bring up our final topic because we can't go this week without talking about one of the great test match wins. Let's face it, Bangladesh getting that win over New Zealand, their
Huge.
first one in test history. And it was interesting because that was a day that it was raining at the SCG, and I ended up sort of writing about that match in particular because it was incredible to watch. It was such an exciting finish. Look at that, the smiles. It was brilliant. And it just reminded me, of just how badly Australian cricket has treated Bangladesh. That they haven't been here in so many years in any form of cricket to play a bilateral series. There have been test matches promised and then, gone. The only time they played a test series here, what was it, was it 2003, I think? And
I reckon Martin Love played in that series. I reckon that's, I reckon there was a few. Did Matty Elliott play in it, or did he play?
He might have played in
I'm
that
trying
one.
to remember. But there was...
Because there was one up
but it was a long time ago, and it just needs to... And that's right. Yeah, at TIO Stadium, I reckon. But we need to get them back over. Like they've proven that they're a competitive force in all three formats at different stages. Obviously, they're like any other country. They're strongest at home, but what they've shown is that they've got some ability in what we'd say is Australasian and New Zealand conditions. So I think this has proved a point, this test match over in New Zealand. They'll be able to handle themselves in Australia. It might be a stretch to play a 3 to 5 match series, obviously, but I think it would be worth getting them over just from a development of cricket point of view. It would help their development. It would help Test cricket as a whole if Australia did that. And really, Australia is probably one of the countries that has turned a blind eye to Bangladesh for too long. So it would be great to see them over here. I don't care what format, just get them into the country so that we become familiar with them and they become a part of the furniture like everyone else. But it feels like they're not at the moment to Australians, probably because we just haven't been willing to front up against them.
Yeah, well, they're some of the biggest stars of Bangladesh cricket. Your Shakib Al Hassans and Tamim Iqbals, Mahmudullah. That they will go through their whole careers without ever playing a test match in Australia, and that
would be shocking, wouldn't it? Really, you think like some of these players have been, they've been big names around international cricket for a long, long time. Shakib Al Hassan's been the number one all rounder in all three formats. I think at the same time through a period of time. So I feel like that has to happen. You hope it happens sooner rather than later so that we do see some of these guns. But I mean, there's some young players on the rise, aren't there now?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, New Zealand did counterpunch pretty massively and severely after that.
They did. They put them to the sword this week.
They did because we can't not mention, of course, Ross Taylor. So don't play the Ducks just yet because I just want to say I've been so lucky and privileged to watch Ross Taylor. But remember him over in Perth when New Zealand played that series several years back, and he was unbelievable, undefeated. Yes. But over so many years, he's been brilliant. And what a perfect moment was it in the end when his final act in Test cricket was to take a wicket. Absolutely brilliant, glorious. I love that. How must Tom Latham have felt underneath that high ball?
Very nervous. You wouldn't have wanted to drop that, would you?
No, you wouldn't. Is he someone you've admired, Cal?
Yeah, look, I played a bit against Ross when we were in our younger days and played a bit against him when I was playing ODI cricket for Australia. We're similar ages, so we'd quite often bump into each other in academy tournaments growing up and the like. But always had a lot of time for Roscoe, a really nice guy off the field as well. and someone I've really admired for his longevity as well. But yeah, look at his record; it's phenomenal. I've got it here right in front of me. He's played 112 tests, 7,683 runs, high score of 290 at an average of 44.66, 1935 50s. I mean, that is a fantastic career. And let's not forget 3 wickets at 16. So that's a hell of a record with the ball as well. Somewhat of an all-rounder, some may say. So great effort. Congratulations to Ross Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is the show for today, by the way. Thank you, all of you. We've had some brilliant comments and questions on there today. So really, really appreciate you all being part of the show. And we'll be back with more, of course. And as for you, Cal, you look after yourself, young
Thank
man.
you.
Make sure you
Yes.
get better very soon. And I'm going to be down here in Hobart getting ready for fifth Ashes Test. I can see Australia. They're doing something real. They're doing some really weird stuff at the moment. It looks like team bonding exercises or silly walks. I don't know what it is.
Right. Barefoot. JL loves the barefoot walk, so there might be a bit of that happening.
No, but they're linking arms and walking around. It's really weird. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to
Sounds wholesome.
It does sound wholesome. Weird. All right, you take care. All of you take care out there, and whatever you're doing this week, make sure you enjoy watching your cricket. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
See you guys. Bye.